And it is week 7 of high school football here in South Carolina. Got some good action tonight, some big time region matchups. Let's jump into it with our scores from around the state. Leading it off, a tough game for the Lugoff-Elgin Demons. They fall to Spring Valley tonight, 16-10 over there in Northeast Columbia. Big win for Lawrence, who has cracked the top 10 of 5A now, or they're knocking on the door of it, actually. They're not in the top 10 yet. They knock off Woodmont in a big game. One of our games of the week this week, 28-24 over Woodmont. A little bit of an upset, I feel like, down at Hawkins Stadium in Irmo, where Blythewood knocks off the Yellow Jackets 42-35. Hillcrest takes business tonight over at Riverside, 42-0. Nation Ford defeats Fort Mill tonight, 38-14 in a battle of the Fort Mill area. TL Hanna gets back on track this week. They knock off easily 37-10. And a ranked matchup in 5A for us this week. Dutch Fork hosted River Bluff. Of course, Dutch Fork number 1 in 5A. River Bluff checking in at number 8 this week in the media poll. But Dutch Fork just doing what they have done the last 2 years. Absolutely wipe up River Bluff tonight, 48-14 Silver Foxes. A game of the week also for us over at Dorman at Cavalier Stadium. Big matchup between Dorman and Gaffney. Dorman looked very, very good tonight. They knock off Gaffney 34-10. Down the lower state, Conway knocks off Socastee 28-8. And here's a big win for Clover, who has been having a good year. They go to District 5 Stadium over in Rock Hill tonight, knock off Northwestern 27-24. Clover now ranked number 7 in 5A. So it'll be interesting to watch how they progress as we get to the back half of the season here. Now in the Midlands, a high-scoring affair. Chapin defeats White Knoll 38-35. Carolina Forest continues to have a great season this year. They defeat South Florence 49-7 tonight. Cane Bay, a winner at home against James Island 27-24. And Burns continues to roll. They beat a Malden team that we have seen a little bit of this year that has got a good defense, but their offense is it just isn't quite in sync. And Burns shuts them out tonight, 43-0 over at Nixon Field, as Burns looks to be the real deal, and they might be. It'll be interesting to see how he had these last few weeks, but Burns might be the top candidate to give Dutch Fork a battle now the weekend of champions. We'll see how that plays out. Newberry over Emerald tonight, 31-21. Cane Bay over James Island, 27-24. First Baptist continues to have a good season. They defeat Pinewood Prep tonight, 68-13. As we look, got a couple private school scores here. PD Academy over Thomas Sumter, 44-6. And while we're on the PD region, let's give a shout out to our sponsor, the Bradley George Insurance Agency. Been doing great stuff down there. Open enrollment is coming up for a lot of us, so a good time to talk to Bradley and the guys down at the Bradley George Agency and help you out with all your insurance needs. Make sure you go see those guys and let them take care of you. Dillon Christian also had a big night tonight. They defeat the Christian Academy in Myrtle Beach 50-0 on the road. Good win for Dillon Christian. And we've got Clarendon invited Newberry to town tonight. They fall 31-21 in that game. Wagner Sally, they have taken Lamar over as the number 1 team in 1A this year. They defeat North tonight 51-2. Impressive win there for Wagner Sally. Hunter Kinder Tyler 24, Williston Elko 6. Green Sea Floyd's 62-8 over Timmonsville. You rarely see that Timmonsville program on that lopsided of a loss. So big win there for Green Sea Floyds. They they're having a great season themselves as well. Timmonsville a bit down, not the standard that you usually expect from that whirlwind squad. Whitmire over Dixie tonight, 24-7. Blackville Hilda with a big win over Ridge Spring Minetta tonight, 42-14. That a ranked matchup in 1A ball as well. Saluda over 96, 43-13. Mullins defeats Johnsonville tonight, 18-16. Lee Central all over Louisville, 57-28. East Clarendon defeats Latta tonight, 33-3. Gray Collegiate, 49-0 over Columbia. It's a big win there for Gray as they travel up 26 to beat Columbia tonight. Southside Christian, they blow out Christchurch tonight, 48-0. North Central a winner at home tonight against Chesterfield, 24-19. Hannah Pamplico over Cane Bay, 30-7. Oceanside over Burke, 42-0. Buford over Central at Pageland. Big win for Buford. Central at Pageland's been playing very well lately, but Buford knocks them off tonight, 16-12. McBee goes on the road, defeats Plattsburgh 29-21 tonight, and Batesburg Leesville a winner against Silver Bluff tonight, 33-7. Usually that is a big-time game, Batesburg, Leesville, and Saluda, but neither of those programs quite where they usually are, quite where you expect them to be. But a big win for Batesburg, Leesville tonight in that game nonetheless. So let's circle around. We've got some other scores here, a little bit more for the Midlands, give you a rundown of some other scores that we've got here. Flora, a big winner over Lakewood tonight, 34-14. Airport in a tight one over North Augusta, 30-29. We've got, as we mentioned, Blythewood over Irmo, 42-35. Pretty big win, I think, there for Blythewood in that game. Brooklyn Casey over South Aiken, 35-20. Chester over Keenan, 31-6. This was a tight game, though, in the first half. Chester was having some trouble. They were up 14-6, I think, early in the second half, and then looks like Chester pulled away there as they continue to do well in that very, very good 3A class. Clinton over Mid-Carolina, 35-31 tonight. Edisto is a winner over Pelion, 28-6. Now, here is the first big upset that I have come across tonight. Fairfield Central defeats the third-ranked Camden Bulldogs tonight, 21-20. That a battle in 3A. And we've talked all year about how 3A has been the most exciting class this year. You know, you got Dillon at the top, Chapman's number 2, Camden number 3 coming into week 7, but obviously this loss is going to drop them back a little bit. And you've got Chester number 4. I feel like you can draw a line right there is the clear top 4 teams in 3A. And then rounding out the rest of the top team, you got May River, Gilbert, Wade Hampton, Aner, Strom Thurmond, and Woodruff. But I think those teams are clearly a little bit behind that top 4. But with Camden losing tonight at Fairfield Central, maybe not. So it'll be interesting to see how Camden can bounce back from that and what Fairfield Central can do. You know, they're typically a very strong program. See if they can use this as a bit of a springboard and get into the playoffs and see what they can do. Definitely a confidence builder to win a close game like that against a very quality team in Camden. We've got Gray Collegiate. They had no sweat tonight as they defeated Columbia. Again, we said 49-0 in that game. Lower Richland over Crestwood, 42-17. Orangeburg Wilkinson, they defeat Dreer tonight, 28-7. Ridgeview shuts out Richland Northeast tonight, 47-0. Saluda a winner over 96 tonight, 43-13. Strom Thurmond with a big win tonight. They win over Swansea, 52-12. And the only overtime game that I've seen tonight, Westwood over York, 28-22 with some free football there at York High School. So good win there for Westwood tonight. And let's get a couple more upstate scores for you. Eastside, They expect to win tonight against Berea, and they certainly do that. They win 49-15. Greenville, a team that we saw play South Point a couple weeks ago, and Kevin and I, neither one of us was really impressed with either team. In Greenville, there's just a lot of questions for how that game plan unfolded in that game. Just an interesting team. But they win big tonight over Blue Ridge. They win 48-0. So it looks like Greenville getting back in the rhythm. In Greenville right now, they're the number 10 team in 4A. So they'll try to climb the rankings a little bit more as they go. And tonight's win certainly helps that. Chapman, you expect Chapman every week to score anywhere between 40 and 80 points. Tonight they shut out Carolina High and Academy 64-0. And it looks like right now they're just on a crash course for the Upstate Championship, which is going to be a lot of fun. We've got teams like Chapman, Chester, and Camden. They're going to be battling for that Upstate title, which most likely the winner of that group and whoever in the Upstate that can, maybe Woodruff can challenge them, will probably meet Dillon in the Weekend of Champions. But it'll be fun to see how those teams shuffle out here the rest of the year. A big win, our last game of the week here for the Upstate, was Daniel at Wren. And this was a game against, Daniel they're ranked number 2 in 4A and Wren number 7. And on the road at Wren, Daniel goes in, wins 34-28. Big win there for Daniel. Very impressive. That's tough to go and win on the road against a very, very good team. So big win for Daniel there. Good to see them win. TL Hanna, they get back on track this week. They defeat Easley 37-10. St. Joseph's over Landrum 49-28. Liberty defeats Crescent 26-21. Southside Christian over Christchurch 48-0. Belton Honeypath, a big winner over Palmetto tonight, 56-28. Pendleton shuts out Powdersville 32-0. And this is a game, a little bit of a surprise to me. We were, and admittedly so, I became a Greer fan last year with Dre Williams, exciting of a player as he was. Greer this year now starting a 9th grade quarterback. Obviously the loss of Dre Williams has really affected them. They look pretty good in week 0 against Burns over at Nixon Field. Of course, they lost that game by a few scores. But tonight they lose to Travelers Rest, a good Travelers Rest team. But they lose 21-14, and Greer obviously not the team that they were last year. So, a little disappointing to see Greer slip a little bit this year after having such an exciting team last year. But Travelers Rest gets the best of them tonight, and great win for Travelers Rest. Greenwood, a winner tonight over Wade Hampton, 42-6. Not much resistance in that game there for Greenwood. Walhalla continues their good season. They win over Pickens tonight, 35-7. And our final score from the Upstate tonight, Westside over Man, 49-10. So that rounds out the scores that we have here for you this week. Some pretty interesting outcomes, especially with Fairfield Central knocking off a good Camden team tonight. You see the typical suspects of Dutch Fork rolling big, Burns with a big win. I think a pretty impressive win for Burns. Malden's got a team that, again, as we've said all year, their offense struggles a little bit, but that defense is very good. They're led by Andrew Phillips, cornerback that will be playing at Kentucky next year. And, he's a very good player, one of the best players in the state. And, to beat a team like that 43-0, there's something to say for that. So good win for Burns. And they are headed for the peek ahead a little bit here now into week 8. Burns will be hosting Dorman next Friday. And that could be a preview of the Upper State Championship for 5A, which can more or less be called, hey, who's going to get the chance to play Dutch Fork in Columbia? So that will be a good game next week to see where those teams are, and of course, what happens next week in that game could be totally different from what we see in the playoffs if we see that matchup in the playoffs. So that would be cool to see how that game plays out next week. But, I'm really impressed with Fairfield Central. We see teams like Dutch Fork, Burns, Gaffney with a big win tonight as well, Clover with a win. But to see a team like Camden, who had such a good year last year, and then they've been having a very good year this year, and then they run to this roadblock of Fairfield Central. So it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back. But I'm going to take it. I don't know what Kevin's going to vote for here later on this week, but I'm giving my team of the week Fairfield Central to win a tight game against a good team, 21-20. I don't know the background on that. I don't know if maybe Camden went for two, maybe an extra point was blocked or just missed. But to win a tight game like that, very impressive, very impressive. And growing up, seeing Fairfield Central play and seeing Fairfield Central being such a good program, it's cool to see them win a game like this. My team of the week this week goes to the Griffins of Fairfield Central. It'll be interesting to see how the 3A rankings shake up now because, I think there's a hard line there. You expect maybe River, maybe Gilbert and Wade Hampton, maybe to jump Camden after this loss. But really, none of that matters until we get to the playoffs and, it all gets settled on the field. So really fun to see that. And, here in the Upstate, we've got some really good matchups coming up in 5A as well. Even though Gaffney hasn't been quite as good, I think, as we thought they would be after the last few weeks, but they're still around and you still have to play them. And nobody wants to go to the reservation and play Gaffney. Anytime you can go there and get out with a win is a big deal. So it's going to be fun to see that region play out, to see who comes out of there. And, we're another week closer to the playoffs, another week closer to really having things shape up for us. And it will be fun to watch. But tonight, I think the biggest stories are the big teams continue to roll. You look at number 1 in 5 is Dutch Fork. They roll. The number 2 team in 4A, Daniel, had a tough game. They played a very good Wren team on the road, but they still won. Chapman, the best team in the Upstate in 3A, they do what they do. They score 64 points. They win big. They shut out their opponent. Chapman's going to be a force to deal with for anybody. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But next week, definitely tune in for Burns Dorman. That will certainly be the best game of the week or best matchup of the week that we'll have. And hey, send us your predictions. Tell us what you think. We've seen Burns play once. Haven't seen Dorman play yet. I know they lost a lot from last year. They had a lot of talent last year. Had an offensive lineman go to Duke. Had a receiver go to Virginia Tech, I believe. So a lot of talent left on that Dorman team. But obviously they are very, very good this year as well. Also Daniel, I think Myrtle Beach is head and shoulders above everybody else in 4A. But, maybe Daniel has something for him. It'll be interesting to see if Daniel can continue to win. I think they're the number 3 team in that class, South Point. I wasn't very impressed by them. I don't think South Point could beat Myrtle Beach, but possibly Daniel. And it's going to be cool to see here in a couple weeks when the playoffs start and see how all that unfolds. But send us your predictions. Send us what you think about next week, especially with Burns Dorman, going to be the marquee game. Tell us what you think is going to shape up for the playoffs. Who's going to come out of each region. We've got some really strong regions where there's some good teams that are probably going to get left out. But, it'll be fun to watch. So you guys send us some insights, send us some predictions, and we'll talk about it next week when we come back for week 8. This is all this week for Moving the Chains. Thanks again to everybody that tuned in. And if you tune in later this week, awesome. Appreciate it. Thank you for the support. Also, a big thank you to the Bradley George Agency for the support that they give us. They do an incredible job. Great people to work with, talk to, just good people. And with open enrollment coming up soon, now is the time to take care of the important things. Nobody really wants to do it. Nobody's really sure what to do. So somebody like the Bradley George Agency, great to get them involved and let them help you out. So from John Epps here at Moving the Chains, that wraps it up for week 7. It'll be interesting to see early next week what the top 10 polls will look like. We'll post those as soon as we get it. We will decide on some games of the week for next week, and we will hit the road and maybe go to Burns Dorman next week. But we'll see what the schedule looks like and see what we've got on tap. Everybody have a good week. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you next Friday.